No blazer for Francis Stevens today. Southern boy polo, unfortunately. But thank you nonetheless for coming in.
Hey, thank you for
Appreciate
having me.
it.
Absolutely.
Week 3, time flies when you're having fun, and we sure are having a lot of it with all this great soccer. Let's start off with your girls' team of the week.
Oh, girls' team of the week is going to be the Findlay Trojans. And again, man, they've had a really, really good year. It was a big-time tie for them last week against Sylvania Northview, 2-2. They're really starting to get some things rolling. Olivia Gayhart, she's kind of to do some things differently this year. She was usually known as a center back, but now she's getting forward. She's got 7 goals and 4 assists, really kind of getting that attack going for Mike Aubrey's Lady Trojans down there. But she's also getting some help from some other supporting cast as well, too. And we talked about Ellen Hawkins. She's a freshman. She's got 4 goals on the campaign for them. So really like where this Philly team's going. They're positioning themselves really well in that Buckeye division. You know, right now it's heavy up top right now with a couple teams with, you know, 1 draw. But, I mean, really all these teams all got 1 draw against each other. So we'll see what it is in that second round of those turnaround games.
That 8-1 loss to Perrysburg kind of signals some red flags, but past 4 games for the Lady Trojans, unbeaten. As for your girls' player of the week, who you got?
I got Lila Simon, and I mean, I'll tell you, what an atmosphere down in Wood County at Sidekicks Stadium on Monday night. I mean, and I've had a privilege of watching her play for 4 years, and really, to be fair, she is as good as advertised and steps up in big-time moments. And she stepped up in a big-time moment for that free kick goal with 20 seconds left in the half to give them a 1-0 lead. You were kind of maybe feeling if it was going to be what it was last year when Anthony Wayne got some goals in that game early, but they kept really plugging and keep going. But the thing I like about her is this, not just her ability on the ball and off the ball, it's just her overall work rate, what she brings to the table. She's not surrounded by the same players that she's had the last 3 years, but I think what I like about her and what I admire about her is how much better some of these younger players are getting because they have a player like Lila to look at. And I mean, it's going to be a big couple weeks for her. I know last game she didn't score a goal. Her mom and dad reminded me of that, but she scored a goal on Monday. So I said, hey, we're back on track again. I feel like every game I've ever had her in, she scored in. So that was a big time goal for Anthony Wayne that really propelled them to get that 1-1 draw. But again, they got some big games coming up here. I expect her to be in that spot to be dangerous to keep them going.
But people forget with Anthony Wayne, this is a Generals team that lost 10 seniors a season ago. Lila Simon returns. All Ohio a year ago, sure, but how have you seen her, I guess, adapt her game to having younger players on the team this season?
Well, I think the biggest thing about her, again, is just because she's so versatile in so many different ways and where she can play positionally on the field as well. She played a little bit higher on Monday, but you can probably drop her back in the midfield, maybe put Rouser, who's a freshman, who's going to be an absolute stud. You know, she does a really, really good job up there, not really afraid to get in the mixture of things, but she's so versatile. She's a great vocal leader of that team as well, too, because she is a veteran. She's been around in some of these games. She's made a lot of regional runs. She's won district championships. So I think that plays a very, very big piece when you have a senior like that, a leader who's been in these positions before. Lori Williams likes those types of players that can go out there and be very, very versatile for them. She can do that in so many different ways. And, again, she's making some of these younger players better and better as the days go by.
Boys side, who's your team of the week?
Oh, man, dude, we're going to head over on Reynolds Road, baby. It's going to be all tack here this weekend.
Yes,
so,
sir.
hey, the Maumee Valley Country Day Hawks, they're off to a great start, 5-1-1. Have had some really good results. They're going to have some tough games down the stretch. Obviously, they'll see Perrysburg, which I was over there last night at Northview watching them play. A lot of Maumee Valley guys there. They want to see exactly what this Perrysburg team's about. But the biggest piece about them has been their goal scoring and things like that. And, you know, Gabe Skinner, a lot of assists for them. He kind of gets a lot of things going in the middle there for them. But more importantly, Louis Snelling, he's been very, very impressive as well for them as well throughout the season. So they don't have a lot of blemishes in the attack right now. But I think the biggest thing right now for this Maumee Valley team, they're playing some really good teams. They're going to see Miller City, who's a state-ranked team. According to Max Preps, they're going to get Perrysburg at the end of the year. They're just going to keep getting better and better because, again, the attack is going to be really strong because the next team I'm going to talk about with my player of the week, he might give them some problems because I really like what that kid's game is.
The Hawks have scored 4 goals in all but 1 match this season, and that match was a 1-0 win over Wapakoneta. So the Hawks are on the up and up, but as for your player of the week, who you got?
I'm going with Nate Flagg over there on Anthony Wayne Trail at Toledo Christian. I tell you what, he didn't start the first 5 minutes of that game against Emmanuel Christian. When they put him in, the game elevated, and it elevated for TC in a lot of different ways. He had a goal. If I give him a hockey assist, he probably had 2 assists with that, but I'm not going to do this. I'm not that kind of coach. But again, his energy, his speed, and what he has. He's really good on the ball, really good technically. This team last year only had 12, 13, maybe 14 at most on the team. Their roster's expanded about 22, 23, and they're 5-2-1. That really shows a lot of growth of where they're going. And I think because they have a really good sophomore class, really good junior class as well too, but Nate Flagg really stands out for me. He definitely deserved it with his play on last week when we had them against Emmanuel Christian. So kudos to Nate and kudos to the TC Eagles as they keep flying and going in the right direction. We're going to have a Hawks and Eagles game here eventually at some point. So the battle of the birds, man, battle of the birds. So
Flagg leading an Eagles team that comes in at number 10 in your top 10. We have some new faces in your boys' top 10. Let's begin there. We spoke about Maumee Valley Country Day, who makes its first appearance in your top 10 this season, but perhaps the most notable move, Perrysburg, rising up to number 2.
They're a different team right now. And I would say this because what I saw them on Friday Night Football, they were still kind of in that more positional play, letting possession kind of do some things. They've changed some things around, and boy, I tell you what, when we had them last week on Thursday night over at Sylvania Southview, it was very, very evident. They gave up a goal in the first 40 seconds, but they kept battling, mixing up possession with a little bit of some direct play, and we can't say any more about Braden Heitmeyer. I mean, he has been a big, big piece to this. Last night, 3 goals in the first 15 minutes against North. We kind of put them to bed with a 3-0 lead. I like where this Perrysburg team is right now. Obviously, St. Francis is still going to be in the mix there. That was a tough, tough loss for them last night against a really good Detroit Catholic Central team. There was 2-2. Eventually gave up that game-winning goal. But again, I think St. Francis is in that conversation for Division II to make a push for a lot of things. But you got Sylvania Northview right behind them. And Anthony Wayne as well, too, is right in that mix as well for D2. But Maumee Valley making their first appearance into this list here. Again, having a really, really good start to their season. They're just getting better and better as time goes by. And Toledo Christian, probably for the first time, I haven't really talked about them a lot in recent years just because of the numbers. I mean, I can go back when I was in high school and they were lights out with guys like Simi Wakawa and Zach and Nate Bluss and those guys like that. I like where this TC team is going. They're just getting better. They're younger. But, you know, hey, sometimes when you're young, you start taking those lumps. You get that confidence before you get into that state tournament run. And they're in a position right now that, hey, you know, smaller divisions, when they went to 5 divisions, it makes a big, big difference. So I really like where this TC is going. But Perrysburg has made that jump. That's going to be an exciting game with Perrysburg and Springfield in a couple weeks.
Let's get to the girls' side. Not a lot of change, so I want to focus on number 1 and 2, Perrysburg and Anthony Wayne. You had a front row seat to the match of the year. I mean, you take it away. It was a thrilling one.
What I'll say about that game was, and for me with Perrysburg with so much attacking prowess, they controlled a lot of that game in the first half. I'm sitting there talking to my buddy Mason Lowry. I was like, it's just a matter of time before something kind of weird happens. And that foul that obviously Perrysburg conceded deep in their defending third really gave Anthony Wayne a little prowess because I was like, well, we know who's stepping over the ball. Number 11 stepping over the ball. Lila Simon, and bam, it's 1-0 like that. To me, it felt like Perrysburg played in Anthony Wayne's hands a little bit. And I think what I mean by that is they just kind of lacked a little bit. They got away from what they're really good at, moving the ball around, kind of unbalancing their attacking or their opponents. So when they got away from that, it kind of just made them very one-dimensional. So everyone's trying to, it became more of an individual thing. But we got till October 8th. This is going to be another marquee game. Now the pressure's on Perrysburg. Anthony Wayne feels good about themselves because they're going to be back out at their stadium. But it's going to be on Perrysburg. We saw maybe a little bit of some adversity, but I will give them a lot of credit to fight back in that game and get the goal from Addison Brown that propelled them to get that 1-1 draw. But it put some pressure on a lot of team like Perrysburg because we've talked about them so much. We know all the great players they have, all the great senior leaders. So right now it kind of puts them maybe they're back against the wall, but I think they'll be fine because Coach Diaz will put them in a championship position like he has year after year after year.
Man, I cannot wait for October 8th. That will be a barn burner of a matchup. Francis Stevens joining us every Wednesday to break down the high school soccer season. Thank you so much, Coach.
Hey, thank you for having me.